Good evening from Japan. Welcome to Scott, or welcome back. If you are with us for the first time, we welcome you, especially with this volume 53, which is about green destinations. And if you are coming back to Scott, you know that we had 52 webinars before. This is the 53rd in our usual webinar series, and we had 24 webinars in our satellite series. And we are with you with a very special topic today. Let me use my screen to introduce today's webinar theme, which is Green Destinations, Sustainable Tourism, and Resilient Communities. And many of you know that we are in post-pandemic era, which sustainability and resiliency is a hot topic, especially when we hear many destinations are facing over-tourism, and people who have not been able to travel now are on board, and the destinations are more in need to think about sustainability. Let me invite our president, Professor Jafar Jafari, to enlighten us with opening remark. Professor Jafari, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just give me a moment to set my page straight. Thank you very much, and good morning from Spain. I've come to Spain for a couple of conferences. One of them was last week in Salo, near Barcelona. And then I came here to Gran Canaria for another conference. If I want to summarize the two conferences into a few words, the key words that were repeatedly coming up were greening of tourism, bluing of tourism, and sustainability. And the other message that we heard from almost everybody, that the volume of tourism is reaching the volume that it used to be in 2019. And practically everybody saying that the volume next year is going to be surpassing the earlier volume of 2019. So in a way, everybody is talking about over-tourism, that over-tourism is almost here. And over-tourism does not sit too well with greening of tourism and with the bluing of tourism. Bluing in the sense used mostly by island countries and seaside destinations, which are depending on waters, bodies of waters. So our theme today is also more on the greening of tourism, and I'm really excited to learn about the perspectives coming from Japan and from around the world. And I do want to agree with what I heard at the conference, is that over-tourism is about to happen. It has already happened in some places, and therefore we need to gear up our tools to deal with this issue. Another point that was coming up repeatedly in both conferences, they were back-to-back practically a few days apart, is tourism and wellness. The benefits of tourism for the tourists, and the part which is less emphasized is wellness for the residents as well. So I hope when we are talking about green tourism, we are thinking about the tourist, of course, and the environment, of course, but also the same possibilities made available to local people. If we lose local people, we have lost tourism. The relationship is right there, and good tourism is the one that serves the community, host community, as well as the environment of the community. So basically, I wanted to bring my understanding of these two conferences to your attention and connect it to the theme that we have today, which is very interesting. And I apologize in advance because I will not be able to stay for the whole webinar. I have some meetings with mayors of the two cities in order to do projects in the sense of foreseeing what the future problems might be and starting dealing with them now before the problems become solid. So welcome to the webinar, and Kazem, back to you, please.
Thank you, Professor Jafari, and thank you for bringing up this extensive network and the platform to share knowledge on a smart community and in community level around the world. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is volume 53 with 24 satellite webinars. We have been able to organize 81 webinars so far. All the past webinars are collected in a YouTube video library. Our Scott video channel is available for free. My colleague in Scott are going to send the links to the Scott YouTube library, that if you are interested in some of these 81 webinars, you can access it freely. For today, we have a very interesting program for you. Let me introduce our first speaker, Mr. Masaru Takayama. Mr. Takayama founded the 21 country Asian ecotourism network to promote authentic ecotourism in the region by creating a networking platform for the ecotourism fraternity. In 2018, a Japan Alliance of Responsible Travel Agencies was also created to enhance responsible tourism movement in Japan. Masaru serves a number of key positions in the organizations, both home and abroad. GSTC, authorized trainer, green destination auditor and trainer, Travel Life auditor, Global Ecotourism Network executive committee member, Future of Tourism coalition advisor, UNWTO Regional Support Office for Asia Pacific Sustainable Tourism Promotion Committee advisor, and Japan Tourism Agency Sustainable Tourism Indicator Committee member, and the owner of Shun Yoso, a cultural heritage boutique villa in Awaji Island in Japan. I would like to ask Mr. Takayama to share his valuable knowledge with us. Takayama-san, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kadim Sensei. Allow me to share my screen with you first.
Thank you, Takayama-san. Just a few seconds, I would like to ask our audience to select the channels that they want. We have both Japanese and English. So please select your favorite language. If you go to the bottom of the page, you have interpretation bottom, and you can select. Takayama-san is going to present in English, but we have simultaneous translation to Japanese as well. Sorry, Takayama-san. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Start now.
Okay, so I'm going to share again my screen. Hope this works now. Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and sustainable tourism fans of the globe, I think. Thank you, Kadam Sensei, for your kind introduction. Tonight, I'm going to talk about sustainable tourism destinations, or green destinations, or blue destinations, depending on where you are. I guess I'm going to focus more about the trend and what's happening on the ground in Japan. A lot of our national government agencies are involved in promoting sustainable tourism development. Japan Tourism Agency, the National Tourism Organization, Cabinet Office. We also have the United Nations World Tourism Organization to support, as well as Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism. So these are the central government or international organizations that help subsidize to implement sustainable destinations on the ground. Not just the government, but we also have a number of associations. I'd like to underline tonight, of which one of them is Japan Alliance of Responsible Travel Agencies, JARTA for short, which I chair the organization. This is for travel agencies. Another is Japan Sustainability Coordinator Association, JASCA for short. The two ladies who are speaking tonight actually belong to this association. So it would be good to see them talking on the destinations. We also want to bring in the highlight of Ecotourism Japan, which has been supporting the development since 2015. So it's been 8 years from the grassroots level. I guess what I can talk first by saying that Japan now has the sustainable tourism destination standard, which is a 152-page book, which is downloadable, all in Japanese, unfortunately. But this has been the highlight for us. This is recognized globally by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. What GSTC or the Global Sustainable Tourism Council does is they work around with the certification bodies, with a number of certification scheme, which can be like lodging, or it could be travel operators, or could be destinations. Today, I'm going to underline the far right lower corner, green destinations, which is the accredited certification body for the destinations. What it does is the green destinations has a cycle which allows the destinations to self-assess and report online. And then they can also provide the learning and capacity building. And once they're ready, they can go for a verification and audit process. Once they are verified, depending on the level, and they get the global recognition, and then they would be able to increase or improve their sustainability achievement by acting better management. So the reporting is 100 criteria comprising 6 themes, from destination management to business and hospitality, as you see on the screen. So these 6 themes are makes up 100 criteria. The destinations can come in and make a self-evaluation by inputting the evidences for the destinations. There's a guidance and best practice examples that you could see once you have the account. We also, as a green destination, also offer support service by the trained advisors. Once they think that they have compiled into all the evidences into the report, they can say that they're ready for audit. The green destination, or GD, dispatches auditor online, whether he or she can assess and say if it's a compliant or a partially compliant, or it's not in compliance. This is all done online. So it's very visible that which criteria is in compliance or not. The recognition start by filling up 60% or 60 criteria out of 100, starting with the bronze award. You climb up the ladder by fulfilling more required criteria, 70% silver award, 80% or more gold award, 90% platinum. And eventually, if the destination fulfills the entire criteria 100%, then it's a certified, which is also a GSTC accredited destination certified. So the destinations have to make their ways up the ladder by fulfilling those criteria online. Normally, they start from the bronze or the silver, so they can make into the management to improve. Seeing one criteria is not compliant, another criteria could be partially compliant. So they can always improve by fulfilling more required items. Just to show, in the last 3 years, in Japan, 2020, the green destinations have the top, what we call the top 100 destinations. And this one is actually not 100 criteria, but they can apply by just fulfilling the 30 core criteria. So 5 top 100 destinations in 2020, while 1 award destination in Kamaishi in Iwate Prefecture. I think they got the first award in 2019, if I'm correct. 11 destinations applied and they got recognition. I'm not going to every detail, but it's a nationwide effort, as you can see, including the Yonon Island in the south and in the south that you're going to hear today. 22, another 10 top destinations nationwide again. Some destinations consecutively winning this top 100 destinations. This year, 2022, again, top 110 destinations. And Niseko Town in Hokkaido has actually made it into the Silver Award this year, following the Kamai City. So that is a very welcoming trend. So for the green destinations, it is only for the destinations, but we have a Japan tourism agency helping these destinations or potential destinations to train the stakeholders, which we call the Sustainable Tourism Training Program. 2022 fiscal year alone, we had the 21 locations that applied for this subsidies. So more and more people are getting educated and trained for not only the destinations, but also for businesses. For example, Kyoto City, as an evidence that they have put in the story, is that they have decided to tackle over tourism issue. They've been doing that for years now, but they have compiled into a very official code of conduct called Kyoto Machiket or Machi Etiquette, I guess, in English. And they are talking about the code of conduct using pictograms. If you go to Central Gion area where Michael and Geisha strive, you see all sorts of not to do or code of conduct signs. If you able to see those on the website, it's also talking about the sustainability, like bringing eco bags and my bottles. This is to help reduce plastic and respecting the locals, including Geisha and Michael and others. In their website, they also have invested into web accessibility too. I know that some people are colorblind or some have difficulty seeing depending on what kind of color. So it can help you to see better with the changing of the color and texture. Another is an example from Niseko town in the north in Hokkaido. Niseko is very keen on the low carbon or zero carbon issue, talking about the risks and impacts to the tourism. They can see a lot of risks by having more populated deer, which can also trigger to affect some forest and bark of the trees, which also at the end kills the trees. They also talk about the risk of floods, but at the same time, they also talk about the opportunities from global warming, like having more better opportunity for grapes, for wines, and other things. In Hokkaido, it's been said that the more and more warm water are coming in, and the kelps are being replaced by seaweeds. This is remarkable impacts underwater. So Niseko has signed as one of the first climate action in tourism led by United Nations called the Glasgow Declaration. I'm not going to the details, but you can search the declaration itself. And this is the mayor saying that they're going to virtually get the virtual zero achievement. So I know that I'm over time. I just wanted to briefly talk about this certification scheme, their destinations and their tour operators and their lodging certification schemes available. Some of them are available by JARTA ourselves, and the JASCA at the top, which is for the destinations. So if you look into these two organizations, you'll be able to see what kind of certification scheme are made available for tourism. To make this sustainable tourism development to realize, I think the cooperation is needed by the stakeholders, including local communities. So that is pretty much it. I just think that the more and more opportunity will be made available for the Japanese destination to be green. The promotion will be made available for those who make it to that world level, and the more certification bodies will be made available by the subsidies that the central governments will offer. So that is it from me. And thank you so much for your kind attention. I know that I've talked a little bit too fast because I had too many slides, but thank you again for the opportunity. Back to you.
Thank you, Takayama-san, for enlightening us with the latest situation of your activities and efforts in Japanese green destinations. Let me introduce the next speaker, Professor Jones. Dr. Jones is Professor of Environmental Studies at Ritsumeikan Asia Pacific University in Kyushu, in southwest Japan. His research interests include environmental policy, nature-based tourism, and protected area management. Originally from the UK, Jones has lived in Japan for many years, experiencing life as an international student from both sides of the lectern. After completing his PhD at the University of Tokyo, he worked as a consultant for municipal government, carrying out visitor surveys in the Japan Alps and at Mount Fuji. He is also part of a wildlife tourism team investigating Rabbit Island and the snow monkeys. Professor Jones is my colleague at Ritsumeikan University, and we are going to hear from his latest information and results. Professor Jones, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for that kind introduction. And yes, I am Tom Jones, not the singer, but I am from the UK. And it's a country without big mountains. So inevitable that I should end up falling in love with mountain climbing and working along with Professor Kazim on top of a mountain. So here we are in Southwest Kyushu. Welcome to APU. And sometimes ask my students, where is my office? And I show them this picture. And of course, they all say that it's here in B building, but I say, no, it's the mountains all around. So while we're talking APU, quick plug for the AP conference, which is coming up next weekend, December 2nd and 3rd. If you are in Japan, do please come and visit us in Beppu, in the onsen, hot spring capital, and join that conference. And also, one other bit of self-PR is about a book we had out last year, which is an edited volume, which looks at some of these mountains and national park networks and sacred peaks in Japan, across Asia. And this has really emerged from an ongoing research project at Mount Fuji, where I was lucky enough to be doing field work for about 10 years, where every summer we would go up to the 5th station of Mount Fuji, and we would interview some of these climbers coming down from the top of Mount Fuji. And at that time, suddenly international tourism was taking off. So that's the perspective that I had from interviewing all of these international climbers and visitors on the way down from the top of Mount Fuji. So, you know, the typical view of Japan as a cultural heritage gold mine, of course, it's true. And all of the sushi and the culinary delights and the bullet trains and the temples and shrines, but people often less aware of the natural heritage. And there is this fantastic network of national parks all across Japan. And we're going to learn a bit more about them today. So I'm looking forward to going up to the snowy peaks of Hokkaido. Not sure if you guys have had snow this year, probably. That's one talk coming up from Teshikaga. And then at the other end of the country, near to Okinawa, the sandy beaches. So I sometimes tell visiting friends, this must be one of the only countries in the world where you can go skiing and snorkeling in the same country, in the same holiday. So we'll be talking a little bit about the green destinations, of course, but I'll be trying to tie it in with some of the work I've done on sustainable tourism and resilient communities in and around the national parks. So why national parks? Well, they are, of course, intended to be the gold standard of conservation. They have stricter laws and should have, but don't always have, better funding, but amazing biodiversity, as we mentioned. And also, they are the test grounds for a lot of these ideas, like the SDGs, and we know the clock is ticking now up to 2030. So, of course, they're the latest in a long line of eco-labels and certification schemes, and won't have time to go into them in much detail, but I'm sure you're already aware of a lot of the benefits of certification. And this is one of the 4 main incarnations of ecotourism, Australia. And in reverse order, you can see, starting from number 5 at the bottom there, they've been very successful in creating networks of ecotourism professionals with a strong membership base, and that's been driven by operator discounts, and they engage in co-marketing and promotion. And of course, they have different tiers. They have a hierarchy of different levels of certification, accredited independently by other organizations like the GSTC, of course, that many of you are familiar with. And a lot of these systems will overlap, and there are efforts to mitigate carbon footprint, such as bottom right there with the carbon footprint calculator that can be done independently or at an institutional level. This is a parallel scheme, Green Globe. This is another international example. Again, many hotels, but also tour operators and independent agents and so on, signing up at different levels. So there's a loyalty scheme here with the kind of normal regular membership leading on to gold and platinum tiers higher up the ladder. And in practical terms, what does this mean for their environmental management? Well, it's a chance to have somebody come in and give impartial advice about how to, say, reduce energy consumption, how to reduce the carbon footprint or separate waste more effectively and so on. And so the hope has been and still is that this can drive more sustainable management. So those were some international examples. It can also work at a local level, and this is back in Britain. In the UK, this is the Peak District in between Manchester to the west there on the left of screen, and Sheffield and Leeds and Yorkshire on the right. So this is one of Britain's oldest parks, and the EQM, the Environmental Quality Mark, set up here in 2001. By 10 years ago, it had about 64 of these accredited local holders. So these were, again, hotels and other kinds of tourism operators whose values were very similar, really, to the underlying missions of the Peak District National Park. So that's really the context, I think, for today's talk. And of course, we're all aware of the idea of national parks, and there has been some great research done. For example, Lisa King and her colleagues talked a lot about how protected area brands like the US National Park Service or UNESCO's World Heritage brand, for example, how it can actually engage visitor emotions and kind of prompt visitors' behavior, so nudge them towards the desired behavior. And so, you know, we kind of relate to this when we think about going to Yosemite or Yellowstone and going through the gateway and into the park, and we recognize the logo, and we instantly have a set of expectations of how we should behave inside the national parks, which is quite similar to a lot of these ideas of sustainable tourism. Could also work internally, giving the management a policy basis for decision making and so on. Of course, since the national park brand has gone global, there's lots of different versions of it. And here we are in Vietnam with the cable car leading up to Phan Xipang near Sapa in northern Vietnam, one of the longest, I think over 6 kilometers cable car. And next door in China, one of the highest outdoor sightseeing elevators, so the glass lift up to top of this national forest park. And so here it's easy to kind of fall into the trap of immediately branding this as over tourism. And yes, there are lots of visitors being suddenly transported up to previously inaccessible areas, but you know, this has also been happening in the UK for many years. So here's the top of Snowdon in North Wales with the light railway going up there. So leading back to Japan then, Japan's been through a similar set of issues, and in the economic heyday, going back to the 60s and 70s, many of these over-tourism issues, and this is Kamikochi, a V-shaped valley in the North Japan Alps with only really one main road in and out. And again, this was where when private car ownership increased, this resulted in more traffic jams and exhaust fumes and illegal parking and so on. So what they did there was to deal with these issues. Cars were restricted, a park and ride system introduced, and also rubbish bins, in other words, trash cans or gomibako, they were removed at popular national park destinations across the country, and visitors were encouraged to take their trash home. So some of the lessons learned then from the kind of over-tourism era, and Kamikoji typical of many of these national parks where the number of visitors increased, closely following the kind of GDP indicators, rising to a peak around 1990 before declining with the bubble economy, as we can see from this data from the Ministry of Environment, which it's showing the estimated number of visits to all the parks across the country. So we also have to remember that the number of parks has actually changed as well over the years. So back in 1960, there were 19 national parks. Now, since 2016, 34. So in some ways ahead of the curve, right? Because as mentioned earlier, places like Venice, France, recently talking about decoupling, degrowth, and demarketing of tourists, given the over-tourism issue. So it's interesting to look at the degrowth era and put the positives into perspective alongside the undoubted decline in absolute numbers to parks like Akan. We can see in the green line on this graph with the secondary access to the right of screen there. So this is my last slide, but just a reminder that most national parks in Japan, like in Britain, where I'm from, they have sizable communities, in other words, significant populations of people living and working in and around the parks. And these remote mountainous and marine areas are, of course, increasingly reliant on tourism as a growth pole. So that really raises these questions of, what is the best scale for these certification schemes like green destinations and others? Does it work best in a single national park or as a national network or global or whatever? And also how, more importantly, they can encourage a more organic means of conservation in the destinations. So I'm looking forward to hearing about these other cases and some exciting examples of trail management and local guide networks, and also some niche tours like star watching and things as well. So yeah, that's the overview of the national parks, and looking to learn some more about sustainable tourism and resilient communities from Hokkaido in the north to Yoron in the south of Japan. So that's it from me for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. You are very punctual and very handful, informative presentation. I know Japan has many national parks that are to be more explored, and some of them can be a model sustainable environmental management. I know you use these environment to educate your students, and you're very active in going to these parks as well. Thank you. Let's move on to the next speaker. If I can, I would like to share the screen here. Yes, we have Miss Maki Yanagita. She was born in Yoron Island, has 15 years of experience as a manager of IT consulting. After returning to Yoron Island in 2017, she started guiding a real estate, lodging and restaurant business in 2018. Began on island entrepreneurship training business in 2021. She was assigned as a DMO and sustainability coordinator at Yoron Island Tourism Association from 2020, where she has been in charge of collecting and analyzing tourism-related data of the island. She's also in charge of developing tourism promotion plan. Without any ado, I would like to ask Ms. Kinase-san to present her latest information and share it with us. The floor is yours, Kinase-san.
こんばんは。世論から柳田と申します。日本は今、夜にはなるんですけれども、夜と、朝っていうので、 バラバラっていうのがすごく面白いなと思います。よろしくお願いいたします。まず、私たち世論党では、まず問題として今回、挙げられている、季節性のツアーっていうところが、課題になっておりました。まず、世論党っていうものがどんなものなのかっていうのをご紹介させていただきます。世論は、日本の、ですね、南側にありまして、鹿児島県の島になります。鹿児島県の最南端となりまして、鹿児島から約560キロ離れ、沖縄本島のすぐ隣の島となります。で、ですもっと気候としてはとても平均気温が 22.9 度、大きさとしても 25.3 平方キロメートルっていうとても小さな島となっておりまして、高さも一番高いところで97メートルの島になります。ですので、写真で見ていただくように、とても、海に囲まれて、海と珊瑚礁に囲まれた、海が中心とした生活をしている島となります。この島に、1980年、ツアー、観光ブームがこの島にもやってきました。当時、1970年代、約1万4000人の来島だったこの島が、たった、10年で約10倍の、人口が、観光客が押し寄せてくるようになりました。この原因としては、隣の沖縄本島、最も近い島になるんですけれども、ここが、日本返還されまして、とても日本の人が沖縄にアクセスをしやすくなったので、世論に来やすくなったということが要因となっております。約4件しかなかった宿が、この時に実際には1970年代と1980年代と分けてはいるんですが、実際には3年間で4件が99件にまで増えるといった、ぐらい、観光客が一気に増えました。けれど、この15万人の観光客なんですけれども、与論島は先ほど写真で見ていただいた通り、観光としてのメインが海となります。ですので、7月、8月、この2ヶ月間、この夏に限って約15万人のうちの 50% の人口が来ました。それがどういったことになるかっていうとですね、この小さな島の中に約100人の中、島民が14人しかいないというようなオーバーツーリズムが発生します。この島は、とても、限られた、このマリンコンテンツ、あと、島にアクセスする方法も限られた、船は1日1便、あと飛行機も1日1便、またホテルの数、あとインフラ、離島になるので、とても限られた問題が起きてきます。またこういった経済波及効果に関しても大きな問題がこの島には訪れました。また、その後、観光ブームでたくさん人が来た後に、約3分の1まで2010年には人が減ってきてしまいます。これは、今まで、海外になかなか行けなかったのが、この1986年に、海外倍増計画っていうのを日本で行われたため、今まで遠くまで来るこの与論島より海外に行く方がコストも安く、また、行きやすいということで、観光客がわっと減ってしまいました。そこから、また、世論の方は観光客を少しずつ取り戻すことはできるようになったんですが、この季節性、あと限られた交通、あと宿の限界、あとインフラ、島の人たちも、この当時はですね、観光客がたくさん来た時には、節水をしないといけない、あと島民は夜8時以降は、電気を使えないっていうような、島民に負担がかかる、生活が、現実としてありました。また、7月と8月にしか観光客が来ないので、その時期にしかお金が稼げないっていう、 問題も起きておりました。私たちは海に関して、この2021年に、グリーンディスティネーション、先ほど紹介していただきました、グリーンディスティネーショントップ100で表彰いただいておりますが、私たちは海は文化となっておりますので、海の清掃や子どもたちへの教育、あと毎日のボランティアっていうのが、島の中で自然と行っております。けれど、その海以外での何かのコンテンツを作らないと、この島への観光は、もう今まで通りシーズナリティが限定されるということで、私たちは自分たちの強みは何かなっていうことを考えました。そこで考えたものが、まず山がないこと、あとハブがいないこと。この地域には、毒蛇が多いんですけれども、私たちの島には毒蛇がいません。また毒蛇が生きていることができないという環境があります。また車が少ないこと、街中の明かりが少ないこと、あと海との文化があり、星への知恵があるっていう、この強みを生かしまして、新しいコンテンツを作りました。それが、星空の、観光となります。この星空の観光に関して、私たちだけではなく、和歌山大学に協力をいただき、私たちは、進めています。大学と共同して、このコンテンツを進めていくことにより、様々なメリットがありました。まずは、大学生、島の星に対する文化を掘り出しする。また、トレーニングを、星空ガイドのトレーニングをするっていうことを行っております。島の住民の 1% 以上は、星空のガイドの資格を持っております。また、島の、工場を利用して、街頭の編集を行うなどを行っております。そういったことを行うことによりまして、先ほどの状態から、観光客が、大体平準的に、来ていただけるような環境を作りました。また、そういったことによって、それだけではなく、私たちの方では、この観光、星空の観光を行うことによって、今まで限られたスポーツコンテンツしかなかったガイド、あと、今後の未来、観光業をしたいという人たちに対して、通年に対して、経済を発展させるっていうことや、また、なくなっていってた文化を掘り起こすっていうこと、そういった、ことができるようになったっていうのが、私たちの強みになります。また、こういった観光、今まで夏にしかできなかったマリンスポーツだけではなくて、星空ガイドも始まったことにより、数年を通して観光業だけで生活をするような人たちも増えることができました。私たちが行った、季節性の観光に向けて、の対策っていうのが以上になります。ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much for sharing information and first-hand information about your valuable effort. I am sure that we have a lot to learn from your case study, Mr. Yanagita. Let me invite the next speaker, Ms. Kinase-san. Sanai Kinase moved to Tashikaga town at the age of 19 after co-managing an outdoor company for 20 years. She became certified as a travel business manager and is now active as a land operator, designer, and writer. In 2020, she established Teshi Color, a general incorporated association for the purpose of regional development and became its representative director. From 2021, she's working as a sustainability coordinator for Teshikaga town to create a sustainable tourism region. I would like to ask Kinase-san to share her valuable knowledge. The floor is yours, Kinase-san.
はい、よろしくお願いします。今、画面の方共有させていただきます。はい。皆さん、こんにちは。ただいまご紹介をいただきました、木瀬早苗と申します。本日は、皆様に手鹿賀町についてお話をさせていただく機会をいただき、とても嬉しく思います。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。はじめに簡単に自己紹介をさせていただきます。今ご紹介いただきましたけれども、私は、奈良で生まれて19歳で手鹿賀町に移住してまいりまして、今年で28年が経ちました。で、現在は釧路川のほとりの、藁の家ストローベイルハウスに住んでいます。で、また、今年の5月からは、冒頭で高山さんからお話ありましたけれども、JASCA、ジャパンサステイナビリティコーディネーターアソシエーションの、理事もさせていただいております。それでは、今日皆様に私の住む手鹿賀町の取り組みについてご紹介させていただきます。こちら日本地図になりますけれども、手鹿賀町のある北海道は日本の最も北に位置しています。そして手鹿賀町は、北海道の東側のエリアに、位置しています。東北海道はとても自然が豊かなエリアになります。で、手鹿賀町があるのは東北海道の中心、阿寒摩周国立公園になります。北には知床国立公園で、南には、釧路湿原国立公園がありまして、どちらの国立公園にも車で1、2時間の距離にあります。国内でも有数の自然環境に恵まれた、場所になります。で、人口は、6600人ぐらい。で、世論と違って、夏はとても涼しくて、ただ近年は気候変動の影響か暑い日が増えてきたかなというふうに思います。で、冬はマイナス30度以下にまで下がることもありまして、夏と冬の気温差が60度以上にもなります。で、手鹿賀町は、町の面積の、65% が、阿寒摩周国立公園に、指定されています。手鹿賀町の中には、日本で、一番透明な湖、摩周湖ですとか、日本最大のカルデラ湖である屈斜路湖、それからカヌーイストの聖地と呼ばれている釧路川、そして活火山の硫黄山、などがあり、国内でも大変有名です。まさに森と湖と火山の、デスティネーションというふうに言えるかと思います。本日は、ここ手鹿賀町での持続可能な観光地域づくりの取り組みについてご紹介をさせて、いただきます。3つのトピックでお話をします。はじめに、町民主体の観光まちづくり協議会についてご紹介をさせていただきます。手鹿賀町は基幹産業が、観光と農業です。現在、町内に宿泊施設が50軒、あります。で、コロナ前の2019年には、1年間におよそ89万人の、旅行者が、来ていました。宿泊者は、21万人、いました。で、こちらのグラフは、宿泊客の推移を、表したものになります。ごめんなさい。 すいません。はい。ピークだった1991年には、およそ73万人の宿泊客が、いたんですけれども、2008年には、その半分以下の35万人にまで、宿泊客が減少するということが起こりました。で、基幹産業が観光なので、みんなこのままでは生活が立ち行かなくなってしまう。この街をこれからどうしていったらいいのかということで、多くのメンバーで集まって、街の未来を考える会が、開かれました。その時に、たくさんのアイデアが生まれました。で、どんな観光地がいいかなというのを考えていく中で、やはり住んでいる人が、生き生きと暮らしている街が、旅行者にとっても行ってみたい街なんじゃないかな。一番大切なのは住んでいる住民自身が居心地のいい街にすることだよね。まずは私たちが、住んでいて誇らしいと思える街を、作ろうと、いうことになりました。そのために行政の皆さんと私たち住民が共に、観光を、まちづくりについて考える場を、作ろうということで、2008年、手鹿賀エコまち推進協議会、が誕生しました。手鹿賀エコまち推進協議会は、観光を基軸としたまちづくりを進める住民主体の団体です。誰もが自慢し、誰もが誇れる街を目指すというビジョンのもとに活動をしています。で、活動の、主体は、住民、なんですけれども、公的な機関でありますので、会長は、町長が務めています。協議会には、こちらの、8つの専門部会が、あります。この、専門部会の活動と、全体で行う活動の、2つが、あります。具体的には、こちらに書いてあるようなさまざまな活動を行って、います。で、メンバーは、70人ぐらい、います。観光関係者のほか、農家や、会社員など、さまざまなメンバーで構成されていて、全員が、ボランティアの組織になります。次に、エコまち推進協議会が、中心になって進めたエコツーリズムのことについてお話をさせて、いただきます。手鹿賀町は、冒頭でご紹介しましたように自然が豊かな町です。そのため自然を守りながら活用し、地域振興や環境保全につなげる、エコツーリズムを、推進しています。で、これを中心になって進めてきたのがエコまち推進協議会になります。日本にはエコツーリズムを推進するために定める、地域の指針、エコツーリズム推進全体構想という制度があります。で、これはエコツーリズム推進法という法律に基づく制度です。指針を作って、国の認定を受けると全体構想認定地域になります。現在、日本には26の認定地域があります。手鹿賀町では、手鹿賀エコまち推進協議会が、手鹿賀スタイルのエコツーリズム推進全体構想、を、定め、2016年に北海道で初めての、認定地域になりました。全体構想では、特に固有の資源を特定自然観光資源として指定することが、可能です。で、2020年に、手鹿賀エコまち推進協議会では、全国で初めて、硫黄山という活火山があるんですけれども、こちらの、噴気孔と、硫黄結晶を特定自然観光資源に、指定しました。同時に、立ち入り制限をかけるということをしています。これらを、行った上で、認定ガイドの制度を創設し、開発されたのがアトサヌプリトレッキングツアーです。手鹿賀エコまち推進協議会が定めるいくつかの条件をクリアした町民でなければ、この認定ガイドになることはできません。 立ち入り制限のかかった、今も噴気を上げる活火山を登る、この特別なツアーの参加費は、1名1万3000円です。そして参加費の一部は、自然保護、のために充てられています。こういった取り組みが評価されて、今年の2月には、環境大臣からエコツーリズム大賞を、いただきました。また、本年のグリーンデスティネーションズトップ100にも、選んでいただいております。世界の持続可能な旅行地の仲間入りを、果たすことができ、大変名誉なことだと考えています。で、弟子屈町では、豊かな自然を守り、持続可能な観光を推進していきたいということで、2022年に弟子屈町観光振興計画を、策定しました。今後も、この計画に基づいて、持続可能な観光地域づくりを進めていきたいと思っています。本日お聞きいただいている皆様にも、ぜひいつか足を運んでいただけますようにと願っています。本日は貴重なお時間をいただきありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Kinasa-san, for the
Thank you.
information and the interesting case study that we can learn from. I think all presentations are along with each other. Mr. Takayama's general presentation on the green destination efforts and the sustainable management. Professor Jones' information on how national parks are providing the environment for the, let's say, for the business of sustainability, how to bring sustainability in action in a sustainable way that it creates benefit for local people and for the entrepreneurs who are practicing it. And our two case studies by Kinasa-san and Yanagita-san are clear examples of sustainable destination management. In Scott, we have this custom that we have a short video as a cultural break, and we come back to our panel discussion. But in order to save our time for interpretation, because we have interpretation until 8:30, I would like to open the panel discussion right now, and then at the end of the panel discussion, we can watch the videos together. That make sure that our English speaking and Japanese speaking audience, they can benefit from the simultaneous translation. So the chairs of this panel discussion will be Mr. Takayama and Professor Jones. Our Professor Cooper is also here, that is going to, with me, jump in and out if you let us do so with the panel discussion. So I would like to ask all of the speakers join us with the panel. Takayama-san, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Sensei. I think we can start the ball rolling by just explaining that this year in March, the Japanese central government has redesigned the tourism plan, the master plans, which includes sustainable tourism as number one factor. And number two is bringing tourists to local areas, not because the majority of the tourists coming to Japan from outside of Japan are concentrated in the major destinations. And another is talking about the green development, which is of course linked with the sustainability. And they are trying to bring at least 100 municipalities participating by 2030. So that is a big indicator to watch. So what I'd like to say, to ask, is the probably the biggest challenge. It's not, we talk about sustainable tourism. It can be about the environment. It can be about the community. It can be about global warming. It could be about the cultural aspect, like retaining the civic movement, for example. So perhaps maybe I can ask with two presenters. I think they did really well, from Yanagita-san. And I have never talked to her in English, but I hope she gets my message. What has been the biggest challenge for you as a sustainability coordinator or in charge of the destinations? I think she's muted. There she is. 質問わかりました？
課題ですね。
課題ですよね。
はい、課題です。
私から話します。
はい。
私たちの地域での今一番大きな課題は、先ほどお話ししたみたいなシーズナリティになるんですけれども、その中で考えているものが、経済波及、島の中での観光での経済波及っていうところがすごく課題で考えています。で、それをすることによって未来の観光業をする人たちが、観光業を続けたい、やりたいって参画したい。で、この島を観光業で盛り上げていきたいっていうのを、考える。島の中にどうやってお金を取り込むかっていうことが、私たちの中での一番の課題でした。結構環境に関しては、海のことやゴミ問題のことに関して、あと、食べ物とか、そういったものに関しては島で限られていることがあるので、もともと考えるっていうのは島の中では進んでたんですけれども、お金問題に関してっていうところがすごく課題でしたので、そこをどうやって島の人たちに、経済波及をもたらすかっていうところが今私たちの中では課題です。
Thank you very much. Could I ask the same question to Kinase-san, please?
はい。そうですね。手近賀町も状況は、世論と、かなり違うようで、本質の課題っていうところは、同じなのかなというふうに思います。すなわち、シーズナリティの問題と、経済ですね。やっぱり、事業者の方にどうやって、このサステナビリティ向上するために、施策をしていただけるかっていうのが、街から見ると結構課題なんですけれども、やはり事業者の方は、お金を稼がないと、生きていけませんので、ここをしっかり担保しながら、どうやってお客様に満足していただくか。そして、今ある自然環境を壊さずに、次世代につなげていけるかっていうところが、ずっと向き合ってきた課題かなというふうに思います。
Thank you very much. John Sensei, maybe you want to take the con on any questions you might have?
Yeah, I have a couple as well. Thanks, and some really interesting presentations again. And maybe I can also please ask a couple of questions related to the two case study sites. I'm quite interested in the inbound, and we know that in the post-pandemic period, there has been a big increase in the international visitors coming into Japan again, including not only Tokyo and Kyoto and the Golden Route, but also they're getting off the beaten track and going to remote locations. So I wonder if you could tell us a bit about the situation with inbound then, please, in Teshikaga and Yorong. Thank you.
ありがとうございます。ごめんなさい。また私から先に返答します。与論島は今、コロナ禍が明けまして、ですね、私、自分自身が宿泊業もやっていることもあって、あと、世論のあと一つの取り組みとして、どんなお客さんが泊まってるかっていうのを、島全体で今データを取るっていうことに、DX 化をちょっと取り込んで行っております。その結果では、今シーズンオフなんですけれども、現状、私の宿が全員で30名ぐらい泊まれる宿なんですけれども、そのうちの今20人ぐらいがヨーロッパの方々が泊まっていただいています。観光客の方は、海外の方はかなり増えました。世論はほとんど来られる方が、今現状韓国、続いて、スペイン、イタリア、スイス、ドイツ、フランスの方が多く来られています。ですね。私自身は英語は話せないんですけれども、私の、スタッフにフランス人の方と、イタリア人の方と、ドイツの方が、世論にコロナ中に移住してきていただきまして、働いていただいているので、その方々がすごく活躍してくれてます。
続いて、手鹿賀町になりますけれども、手鹿賀町はコロナ前の2019年に、海外のお客様が、2万5千人ぐらい宿泊されていたんですけれども、多くは、台湾や中国のお客様、この数のうちですね、でした。で、今年については、まだちょっと正確な集計ができていないので、数は申し上げられないんですけれども、これよりはずっと少ない、状況で推移しているかなというふうに思います。ただ、欧米からのお客様っていうのは、すごくよくお見かけするようになり、コロナ前とあまり変わらないのかなというぐらいの感じは、印象は受けております。ただ、中国のお客様が全然いらっしゃらないので、多分数としては、少ないのかなというふうに、思います。で、手鹿賀町は、アドベンチャートラベルの受け入れに、今力を入れていたり、海外からのお客様に来ていただきたいなというふうに思っているんですが、まだ受け入れ環境の整備というところでは課題があるなというふうに感じていて、やはり、言語の問題、ですとか、情報発信の部分で、足りていないのかなというふうに思います。で、これらの課題を、解決して、欧米からのお客様をお迎えしたいなというふうに今、町としては考えています。
That's really interesting. Yeah, thanks to both of you. And with the adventure tourism, you started to mention the motivation. Of course, many tourists want to go to Hokkaido for adventure, kayaking, canoeing, of course, skiing, snowboarding, and everything, and Okinawa as well for many other reasons like snorkeling and scuba diving, whale watching, so many. But I'd like to ask Mr. Takayama, because you've been around, the industry inside out. The tough question, of course, is how many visitors will choose the hotel because of the green destinations, for example, and how can we persuade more visitors to actually choose these green destinations? So, yeah, Takayama-san, it's a tough question, but
yeah, that is a tough question, and it's a good question in a way. We've been working on this for a long time. As a purist speaking, that there are more and more responsible travelers in the market. And with the introduction of SDGs in the education system, these youngsters or Generation Z, Gen Zs are going to be the mainstream of the travelers. I think it's becoming now. And if you refer to like booking.com and other resources, you can say that they're likely to choose more responsible destinations over others, under the condition that the price is the same. So I guess more and more people should be aware of a certification scheme. I think that the people are not really aware of what we have and what we're trying to promote. So I think what we trying now on the ground is that we are trying to also educate the travel agencies. Travel agencies are focused to make money and send more tourists, which allows them to think of the mass tourism. But all these destinations that are small and they don't want too many people, likely to be small or smaller destinations. So they really need to understand what kind of a strategy in tourism that they have in the destination that they're sending their guests to, or the hotels also. It's makes sense to select the green hotels over others, not just price. Or Japan is also known for foodies, and it's very often that in the local areas they serve more than they should be. So that those things are really complex situation. But I guess in an optimistic way, I think time will solve very soon.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. And yeah, Kazim Sensei, you have something?
No, please go ahead. After maybe some time, I want to read some questions in the chat. There are several.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead, John Sensei.
Well, I was going to ask Takayama-san another tough question, which is related to the issue of managing the inbounds and also kind of creating rules and bridging the gap between social norms. So, for example, you mentioned the SDGs, and one of the things in the national parks in Japan that I like is that there's no trash cans usually. So we have to take home our trash, which, it's a little bit inconvenient at first, but actually it really makes us think, well, we should always be thinking about, where our rubbish goes and we take it home. So you mentioned some of the ideas. Is it from Kyoto with the, yeah. So could you talk a little bit about the kind of social norms and the unwritten rules for...
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay. I guess we have a book of etiquettes for the Japanese. But when we had more Chinese tourists before COVID, we were really inundated by the people. And I think it's not the fault of the tourists, but I think it's partly responsible of the destinations who really didn't have any code of conduct to tell. So I think it's not just for Japan, but the over-tourism can be a very big issue. One is triggered by having a concentrated number of people to concentrate, or particular places. That creates one over-tourism. But another over type of tourism is that it's not triggered by too many people, but assuming, for example, if the destination wants to open natural resources, say waterfall, and which is taken care of by the grandpa and grandmother, putting flowers every morning because it's a sacred place for them, passed on by generations. But if the destination didn't manage well, it would open to the public. It would trigger the people to go picnicking, leave rubbish. They do barbecue there. For inbound tourism, people may just jump into the waterfall where it's considered sacred, which also is against the local people's will. So those are we think that it's a type of over tourism. So we really need to think that the management needs to be in place with, of course, the local people. So having that planning stage is a very important part to resolve this issue, I think. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks again. It's really interesting to hear about some of the local solutions and very transferable, very similar to what's happening in parts of Europe and around the world. Yes, thank you. And I think Professor Kazim is going to pick up some of the questions from the chat, or how does it work?
Yeah, thank you for the warm discussion, Professor Jones and Takayama-san. Let me go with a question from Michael. If I summarize the question, he is asking, yes, I want to ask, what is the community capacity building strategy carried out in Japan, especially in rural destinations? Maybe I ask, any of the panelists who.
So I guess this might be to do with training guide networks and things like that, is it?
I think so. Maybe you will answer it, John Sensei.
I was thinking maybe Sanae-san.
Okay.
The Hokkaido example is quite a good one with different training of local guides, tour guide. Yeah, thank you.
はい、そうですね。手鹿賀町では、プレゼンテーションの中でご紹介をさせていただいた認定ガイド制度というものが、ありますので、これらの、ガイドの育成っていうのは常に、やっています。で、手鹿賀町の認定ガイドの要件っていくつかあるんですけれども、一番最初に来るのは、町民であることなんですが、その他の条件としては、北海道アウトドアガイド資格を持っていることというのがあります。で、この北海道アウトドアガイド資格というのは、北海道にある公的なアウトドアガイドの資格に、なります。で、これ、知事のハンコが押された、認定証が授与されるんですけれども、取得するのに1年半ぐらいかかる、割と、しっかりとした制度になっていまして、こちらの、アウトドアガイド資格を取得されているガイドの方は、たくさんいらっしゃいます。で、手鹿賀町のその認定ガイドになるには、その北海道アウトドアガイド資格を、持っていることと、さらに、手鹿賀エコまち推進協議会で、作ったオリジナルの受講システム、研修を受けていただいて、修了証を取得していただくこと、が条件としてあります。で、こういった、研修のほかに、先日は、高山さんにお越しいただいて、サステナビリティ向上に関する、観光施設向けの、研修会というのも行われました。こういった、様々な研修、や、資格制度を通じて、スキルアップを図っているところです。もちろん、まだ十分であると言えないと思いますが、はい、できる限り、進めています。あと、他に人材育成として小さな子どもたちですね、小学生や、中学生、あるいは高校生に対する、観光に関する講座ですとか、地域の文化を継承する独自のプログラムなどもあります。はい、そんな感じでしょうか。
Thank you very much, Sanai-san. Let me read a question from Bridget. I think it is to Yanagita-san about the Yoron Island. She's asking, you mentioned that marine activities is not the island's strengths. Can you state what are some of the factors that affect or make marine activities not one of your island's strengths?
島の強みの、私たちの島は、島自体が小さいので、農業だけでは生活ができなくて、半分農業、半分海で生活をするっていう島なんですけれども、なので海の文化がとても強いので、強みとしたら、まずビーチが島に、この小さな約20キロぐらいの、周囲20キロぐらいの島なんですけども、その島に約60のビーチがあります。そのビーチがですね、各家庭ごとにどのビーチが自分たちのビーチっていうのはそれぞれありまして、なので各家庭でそれぞれ毎日のように、ビーチを掃除するっていう習慣があります。ですので、海ゴミ問題ってあるんですけれども、この海ゴミ問題が、毎日ビーチで、掃除をされてるっていうことが、まあ、一つの強みっていうことと、あと、海のゴミを拾ったときに、それを家に持って帰るのも大変だったりとか、気軽に歩いたときに海のゴミを捨てられるように、海のゴミだけを捨てられるゴミ箱っていうのがあります。島全体には、先ほど国立公園にゴミ箱がないっていうふうにお話しされてたみたいに、島全体にはゴミ箱が実はないです。けれど、海ゴミを拾ったゴミ箱だけがこの島にあって、そのゴミ箱を捨てることや、あと、海に潜った時に一緒にゴミを拾うなど、そういった昔から、海を大切にするっていう文化が一つの強みになるかなと思います。ですね。あとは独自な量とか、あとは独自な、料理の食べ方とかっていうのもあったりとかっていうのが、それぞれの強みかなと思ってます。答えになってますか？
I think so. Thank you very much. Okay, I don't know how many minutes we have left for our translation service. If my colleague in Scott can tell me. Okay, so I think we are going to lose the simultaneous translation, but we can continue with both languages, Japanese and English, if necessary. Thank you very much. We have several questions in the chat that I'm going to pass it on. I'm sure the questions are available to our
ありがとう
panelists,
ござい
and
ま
they're
す。
going to pick it up, and we are going to pass it on to the audience. May I ask Professor Cooper if you are going to have some wrap up for us? Malcolm?
You're going to say again?
What or how are you going to wrap up?
Oh, yes,
Conclude the discussion.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear. Thank you very much, everybody. This is a fascinating discussion. A very nice balance between policy making and the local. And I noticed that the local is actually talking about the same things as they were when I started helping to develop tourism as an educator back in the 1970s. And basically, it's all about economics. We have only one industry, and that is generally nowadays tourism for many rural areas. you have to consider exactly how to make the dollars. But having said that, what I do also notice that the prior to COVID, we had over tourism. Now we have over tourism, but we have policy to deal with that. So the two things can actually go together. And I really was fascinated by the discussion. I noticed also that very recently, like in the last few days, the national government in Australia has reintroduced sustainable tourism as a major policy. So people power is changing things, but we also have to remember that the people rely upon tourism as their only source of income. So it's a difficult question that remains with us. The sustainable information that you all gave us tonight in Japan basically helps us with understanding the problem. So I thank you very much for doing that, and I hope you will be able to look at the YouTube and see where the debate is going and carry it on. Thank you very much on behalf of Jaffa.
Thank you, Malcolm. So let me go on with some other questions. Maybe we can make it or a mixture of English and Japanese and into my Japanese ability. There's a question from the audience. Shayeste is asking, the representation and case studies were amazing. I would like to know how to engage the staff, especially in the hotel industry, to participate, to practice sustainability in daily operations. How will their responses? So it's about the business of hospitality and the staff and daily practices in sustainability. Tom, can you suggest who this question should be referred to?
Yes, well, I was thinking that Sanai-san perhaps, or or Yanagita-san also, because you're involved directly with the hospitality industry, aren't you? So perhaps based from the Yoron example, as you have first-hand experience with the staff that you mentioned, and how do you go about training them in sustainability issues and spreading the word about the green destinations to your staff? Thank you.
Yanagita-san, do you want Japanese translation? 日本語で。じゃあ、let me ask our admin staff to translate the question in Japanese. Scott admin? 日本語でお願いします。
柳田さんは直接そのホテルの経営の経験をお持ちなので、このグリーンデスティネーションズのメッセージはどのように館内でどのように情報発信されてますでしょうか。よろしくお願いします。
ありがとうございます。館内、自分の宿でっていうことですかね。だと、正直そんなにグリーンディスティネーションを取ったことに対しての発信自体はそんなにはしてないんですが、ですね、世論の取り組み自体、いろんなものを共有するようにはしてます。あと、星空ガイドを島内で案内するようにしていたり、それ以外にも世論はいろんなこと取り組みをしているので、近々の話ですと、文化を残したいっていうことをやっているので、島の文化の、十五夜踊りっていうのがあるんですけれども、 そのイベントに観光の人たちに参加してもらうように、チラシを作ったりとか、宿泊に来た人たちに話しかけをして、世論は今こういうことをやってるんですよっていうので、私たちの文化を理解してもらうっていうことをやっています。基本的にスタッフにも、お客さんに話しかけをするようにして、私たちの島はこういう文化がありますよ。例えばゴミ拾いするとか、こういう文化とか、新しい、お祭りがありますよとか、話しかけて、伝えるようにはしています。はい。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。会話が大事かなと思ってるので、基本的に話しかけるようにしてます。
Tom, will you have a quick English explanation of the answer, please?
I thought you might be the cousin sensei might be the translator. I mean, I think she broadly mentioned that the specific training for staff is on the increase, but the green destinations is kind of being used more across Iran for various to promote various events and other things. Yeah, but maybe we can follow up with the translation at a later date, and from the if we follow up from the subtitles later on.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I think also I heard about some cultural issues that the staff are in, and even some festivals or they're training about how to efficiently use the energy when they are doing cleaning and so on in the hotel. It goes back to the culture, and of course the continuous or everyday training is very important. I think in the case of Japan, we have the custom of hospitality, sustainable hospitality, and if we bring it with the culture of mottainai in Japan, for example, we are culturally required to be sustainable in our service, and our customer also are also trained to respect the sustainability culture. Let me ask another question from the chat. Dale is asking, I think this is to Takayama-san or you, Tom, is about Mount Fuji, the consuming Japan's long experience and why Mount Fuji is now on for the no-go list. Why is it such a problem?
I guess I could address that one.
Please.
When actually Mount Fuji is the highest mountain, and it's very symbolic, iconic for Japan, and everybody wants to climb the highest mountain, which is symbolic. But if you think about this World Heritage status, Mount Fuji is actually not a natural heritage. It's actually a cultural heritage. So what we need to consider for people who want to climb, like including the younger generation in Japan, is that the mountain itself is a sacred mountain. It's very religious, and a lot of the people in the past days used to change into white clothing, which means that you are very purified. You need to pay visit to the shrine and get purified before actually climbing the mountain itself. And when you're at the top of the mountain, you would again respect to the deities of Shinto shrines. So that has been the how people were climbing mountains. But nowadays they have been promoting just to climb and bypass all the ritual part. I think the very same happened to Kinabalu Mountain in Malaysia. I remember maybe like 10 years ago that some European people were climbing this sacred mountain there, and they got naked and took photos, and it went viral. And actually, these people were, put into jail for that reason. Japan has not really introduced any measures or countermeasures in spite of over tourism. I think this is a natural problem that we see, and we really have to let the people understand these cultural aspects, not just the climbing the mountain itself. So it's going to happen. It's in the plan. Let's see how that goes. But that's why the people want to climb Mount Fuji anyways.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you very much.
Kazan?
I think, yes. Can you hear me?
About Mount Fuji, can I make a comment?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Research?
A short one is
very short. Very short.
Research
that I've done actually begs the question of what Mount Fuji actually is. It's as Takayama-san says, it's a cultural icon, but as a mountain with trees on it, why was the getting on the national on the World Heritage list delayed for so long? And the reason was that the society community was trashing it at the bottom then, with abandoned cars and fridges and everything else. And I think perhaps this comment that's been made basically refers back to that as much as it does to the current situation. Now, how you deal with the community trashing itself is difficult. It's not just over tourism; it's the community as well, or can be in some situations. So I'd like a bit of a comment on that, if I might, from somebody.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you very much. It's a very ongoing and live discussion. I'm so sorry that we have to stop it here because it's almost 45 minutes beyond our time. I know our audience, they have many questions. Scott is open to you. You can send all your questions through emails. We will pass it on to our speakers. I would like to invite all of you to watch the videos that we prepared for you. Those who can't stay here for any reason, we just decided to put the videos at the end, that we use the translation service as much as possible. Also, Scott, video library is in your service. You can access it for free. Please, my colleague from Scott are going to send the link to Scott. Video YouTube, yes, is there. You can subscribe, and you will be automatically tuned when we have updates, the new webinar links and the webinar recording. So we are going to have new webinars at least once a month. Please join us with other satellite webinars that is coming in other language. We have a Persian language webinar coming soon with English translation that is about AI and the use of intelligent technology in hospitality. how communities can benefit from it. And I would like to thank all of you for accepting our invitation, and all the audience who stayed with us until late night in Japan and from the other countries as well. Thank you very much again. And I would like to ask our admin to share the video. Let's watch and have a visual image of the destinations.
82歳のおばあ
As you saw, we have plenty of quality natural resources in Japan, and the fact that rural areas in Japan are depopulated, or the aging society in rural area is not utilizing the natural resources as before, is it has good and let's say bad, positive or negative impacts. But what ecotourism can take it is the opportunity that tourism now can utilize these resources that are abundant. The wildlife and the quality of resources are plenty, and I think there is more opportunities for tourism. But if we have enough capacity and we have enough resources to sustain while we are utilizing through tourism. We have another video, I think, that my colleague are going to show it with us. Yes, please. Very beautiful island. It's a must-to-visit place, and yes, I think we have the chance in tourism industry to contribute and utilize, and how conservation become a job is really understandable from all presentations today. Takayama-san, do you have any message as a take-out or take-home lesson for us?
Well, this is, we say, sustainable tourism is a journey. So it's a never-ending process. We have to keep, measuring and make sure that local people are involved in the tourism management. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you for Kinase-san と柳田さん、ありがとうございました。特に、あとジョン先生も。
Thank you very much. I would like to ask other panelists if you give us omyage or take out lesson, maybe in one sentence. John Sensei.
Sorry, it's bedtime in the Jones household. Just putting my kids to sleep. It's been a great learning experience, and I'm hoping to visit those green destinations and others. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Yanagita-san, you are muted.
今回は本当にいい機会いただきました。ありがとうございました。皆さんのお話も聞かせていただいて、すごく自分自身も勉強になって、また世論で、みんなで何ができるかっていうのも一緒に PR できていけたらと思います。本当にありがとうございます。
Thank you, Yanagita-san. So, as Ms. Yanagita mentioned, let's work together and help promote the island that she is representing. And of course, we will receive a lot of hospitality. Thank you very much. Kinase-san?
ありがとうございました。私も柳田さんと同じように、皆さんのお話をお聞きすることができて、大変良かったです。で、今、高山さんがおっしゃってたように、このサステナブルツーリズムの推進には、まだ全然終わりはないので、一つずつできることを積み重ねながら、持続可能な観光地域づくりを進めていければと思っています。また、機会がありましたら、どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。本日はありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Kinase-san. So, yes, let's work together on sustainable manner to promote ecotourism in sustainable environment. And we are to the end. Malcolm, for a few seconds,
Just
your takeout lesson.
I agree. Everybody must be involved in a system that listens to them. And I was very excited by some of the comments you all made tonight. It's going to happen.
Thank you so much. And the more exciting fact is that still 52 people are with us, and it's 10 p.m. in Japan. So it means that everybody is serious. So let's congratulate this success, and we are going to continue this and stay with you. Yes, my colleagues are saying that this is 9. Yes. Sorry. So let us conclude and thank all the speakers. And we have a very short video from my colleagues on Scott that we are going to watch together. Thank you so much, and have a great evening. We are going to stay with you with next webinars, and you are invited to Scott again. Thank you, and all the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's nice.
Thank you.